This is the Giraffes Don't Eat Steak podcast, a show that brings you marketing stories, tips, hints, and much more. A treat for those who want to succeed in business or marketers who just want to learn.
Hello, Alex.
Hello, good morning / afternoon. How's it going?
I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. All good. Cloudy day, but all good.
Yeah, it's a bit cloudy here as well, but not cold. So that's always good, right? Not
That is
cold.
good. But you must be entering winter time soon.
Yeah, probably tomorrow with my luck, but because it's quite quick here, right? There's no slow build up.
Yeah, that's true. You just had the bank holiday weekend recently.
Yeah,
Was
we
that
did.
sunny one?
It was sunny, but I don't even know what it is. Do you know what it is? It's just,
The bank holiday?
yeah, what is it for? It's not, doesn't
Apparently,
celebrate anything, does it?
no, it's just bank holiday summer bank holiday.
No.
So I think at some point in history, someone said, right, well, we should all just have a holiday because it's summer. It was probably, I don't know, I'm completely riffing here, but probably something from back in the industrial days where they only had like a few days off a year, the workers, and they were like, the bosses were saying, well, it's summer now, you can have one day off.
And it's the last one for the year, right? Other than Christmas.
Other than Christmas, yeah.
So that maybe that was like, let's give a last hurrah before this poor slogs go into dark days, dark nights.
No, exactly.
Your last little hurrah, enjoy it.
I think that's probably pretty accurate. I'm glad we've moved on from those old days, those dark days.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
fun.
talking of dark days, I had an interesting call with a potential client. Well, someone who just asked to speak to me from America, right? So opposite sides of the world, which is quite interesting. So it was definitely nighttime for me when they were calling, but daytime for them.
There's
And
the dark time connection. I was like, Americans, dark time. What's going on here? Not sure. Okay. Anyway, derail. Carry on.
okay, yes, I was sitting with the light on. It was dark. It was nighttime. But it'll be interesting. It will interest you. This conversation is basically someone advised them to chat to me before they spent marketing money, and they were just about to invest in a new CRM / do it all system. There's lots of these floating around at the moment, and they listened to our podcast, the CRM episode podcast, and we spoke. So took a step back, tell me who you are, who your target clients are, what are you trying to achieve. And literally, she's trying to achieve sales. That's the end game. But where she's been spending money is on PR articles, things in the Times, and now this new fancy system. And then she was like, and I think I need to be on social media because that's where everyone is. I should be on social media. And I said, please stop the bus. I'm asking you not to spend a single cent. Don't spend any more money because nothing that you're spending money on is going to bring in sales, which is your problem, right? Like, if you need sales now, if you are struggling, if your business is not making enough money, things like brand building and things like investing in fancy systems, and we spoke about this on our CRM episode as well, right? That's not for now. Don't do that for now. And she was, you're the first person to actually tell me that. I said, yes, because I'm not selling you anything. I'm not selling you anything, right? If you go to the CRM bus, they're going to tell you, yes, that's what you need. If you go to the journalist for the Times, they're going to tell you that's what you need for your business. If you talk to the people who try to sell you stuff, of course they're going to tell you their thing is the thing that's going to change. Right.
Yeah, why wouldn't they if they're in for a buck?
But it did bring up, an interesting thought about brand, because I am a believer in brand marketing, right? In terms of increasing your brand awareness. but also lead gen and sort of the time and place for each of those. What are your thoughts on like where to spend on brand versus lead gen? Because they are different.
They are different, and I think, you know, it's very dependent on your business. So, for example, if you are a business that is, I know currently at capacity, for example, in terms of the number of clients they can service, but you don't want to lose the the awareness that you have of your brand with potential customers in the future, and even the current customers that you have. For example, in that situation, brand marketing is very good to keep that awareness going and alive, so that the moment that you want to do, you need to increase that funnel because you've expanded your team or you've had a drop off in clients or something like that. And then you're ready to do the lead generation, you're in a much better position, and you've already kind of warmed up potential clients in that journey, because you've already been offering them valuable content. They've already seen the value in your company without actually investing in your company. So I think you know, you can almost see the brand building as two things. One, either it's kind of building the foundation of your house, so to speak. You know, it's creating the solid base when you're ready for the details and bring people to invite you into the house, if that makes sense. Or if you're like that example that I was saying, if you just want to maintain the awareness until you're ready to expand a little bit more.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure I agree with you 100%, but we're not here to agree with each other, so that's fine.
What's your viewpoint?
So I agree with your examples, but I think it's about age and stage of your business. I think if you are starting out and you need clients, right? So you need revenue right now, or else you have no business. Brand awareness is a nice to have, because brand awareness is a long build. It will work, but it will work in the long term, right? It's a bit like you know, SEO. It's long-term build. You know, if you need leads today, would you do SEO?
No.
Probably not your major focus. You should focus more on buying Google ads then, right? And doing your SEO in parallel. Because if you have an SEO strategy, it's not going to bring in leads today. It's not going to happen. Yeah. So I think it's about understanding, what do you want to achieve? And that's what I'm finding a lot of people are missing. You know, doing something like, I should be on social media because everyone else is there. No.
No, I mean, that is
no. First of all, what do you want to achieve, right? Do you want to achieve sales? Do you have a monthly target? I need to achieve £20,000 for the month of September, right? Like, what is it you need to achieve? Then, well, should have been the other way around, because this is giraffes don't eat steak. But are your clients there? Like, what are your clients doing? Where are your clients? If they're on social media, great, you should be there. If they're not on social media, in the buying mood, okay? Because if they're on social media, but they're there to play games, it's not going to help you. Are they on social media and in the buying mood, the buying mindset? Yes, that's a good match. But yeah, if you need sales, you've got to do sales-driven activities.
No, I agree. And branding, if you're in a desperate position, branding can feel like a big black hole.
Yeah.
Because it's very expensive. And I don't just mean from a financial point of view, I mean time point of view as well. Because you don't actually have to spend loads of money on brand. For example, if your business is, a lot of your clients are on LinkedIn, a lot of your brand awareness can be doing a lot of public writing articles on LinkedIn, writing posts, commenting, liking and sharing on other things, being really active on LinkedIn. But that can be a full-time job.
Yeah.
And that's very time expensive. And you're not going to see, I mean, you've been through it a lot as well. I mean, you don't see something overnight, and you don't always see traction. In fact, like we had the term the lurkers, right? You know, there's people who are watching what you're doing, but they don't actually engage in your content. They don't like, share, or anything, so it's not obvious. But there's people there watching it, but you don't know about that. You don't have that visibility, that statistics of that person being there. You just have to kind of, you know, believe in what you're doing, and then one day it will come. But if you're in a desperate position, that is not a nice place to be in, because you're not seeing anything.
Yeah. And then there is a place for brand, but it's then how much do you do? You know, you can tailor it to go, I've got my marketing pool of time and money, so we can put all of it in the pool. I'm going to do 20% brand and 80% lead gen because I need some sales now. And then in your scenario where actually you're full, you're at capacity, you dial it the other way around, right? So you can dial your brand activities up and your lead gen down, but keeping them both balanced so that you can dial up and down depending on what your business needs, right? So that's where my head is about starting with the business, the person, having a good hard look at where are you and what do you need? What is your need? If you can afford to wait a long time till money starts coming through the door, great, yay. Then absolutely do brand. You know, again, you don't have to go for the expensive full page ad in the Times, or, you know, like, yes, those have a reach, but it's an international reach, etc., etc. Is that your target audience? Are you getting to the right people with doing that? I think really think through your audience. But even, I mean, the suggestion I made to this person was spend 10 minutes a day on LinkedIn. Don't spend money. Spend 10 minutes a day on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is not only brand, it can also be direct lead gen activity if you're connecting, searching for your target audience, connecting with them, sending them a follow-up message, setting an appointment, right? Those kind of key activities on LinkedIn are only time-based as well, but can get you sales, right? They can actually lead to sales. But it's about understanding are your audience there, how to reach them in the appropriate way, and then what's your space, your comfort level in waiting.
No, exactly. I mean, LinkedIn is kind of being in a room, with people, isn't it? It's like being in a room full of, if it's a B2B, for example, it's like being in a networking room.
Yeah.
You know, you still need to feel out what do people want, how can I offer them value when I speak to them, what can I give to them, but then also be aware that they're not going to bite straight away.
No, exactly.
It's the same kind of environment, but just a digital one. But the principle is similar.
No, exactly. But there's activities, and this is not a LinkedIn episode, but there's activities on LinkedIn like running a webinar, LinkedIn webinar, right? So you can go all the way from I'm just going to post something valuable once a week, all the way to I'm going to actively be networking, connecting, approaching people, running webinars. So I think it's across that span, you can mark that from this stage is only brand awareness all the way through to this side is more lead gen. So I think it's even on that scale. So if we're saying LinkedIn, that's probably true of all channels, right?
Yes.
All channels, you can have the scale depending on what your message is, how it's pitched, where it is, you know, what your audience is at that stage. Where does it flow on that scale from? Because I don't think brand awareness, as we're talking, this is coming to my head now. I don't think brand awareness is brand awareness or lead gen. I don't think it's a black or white game. I think it's a continuum. And it's about moving that lever up or down, depending on what your personal needs are as a business owner, but also your client's needs.
Yeah,
What do you
there's
think of
absolutely
that scenario? Does that work?
yeah, I mean, there's a crossover for both of them. Both of them do. Whilst if you're doing pure lead generation, it still has a branding
Yeah.
element to it, of course. And brand awareness still has an element of lead generation because someone might come to you because of seeing it. But it's the call to action, it's the content that you're giving, and it's the journey you're putting them through is kind of different, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's an interesting one. If you were a startup, for example, let's go right to the beginning. You're just starting your company, you're brand new. Where would your marketing
Where my
spread
dial
go?
be?
Yeah, your dial. Let's call it a
Well, I
dial.
mean, it's kind of a difficult question because it really depends on the type of business, the kind of content, the contacts you have. But
Your
I think
personal brand.
the personal brand, yeah.
I mean,
But
if you
I
were
think,
Richard Branson with a startup, guess what? You probably
yeah,
don't have to do a lot of brand awareness.
yeah, it's very different. And then, yeah, like you, and also depends on your budget. But probably just maybe generally speaking, the best place to start is your phone book, your
Yeah.
personal contacts that you can either bring on as clients or use them as a way of extending your network, and creating business through trust that you've already built. I mean, ultimately, branding and lead generation is all you're doing is building trust with somebody. When someone buys your product because they trust you, right?
In
And they
theory, yeah.
trust it. Yeah, that your product is going to be of quality, of good quality, and the quality that you say it is. So if you've already got existing relationships, we know how powerful they are in business. You've already built that trust bridge. So I mean, that's the place I would start always. And I mean, that is a form of, that's lead generation. It's you, but you've already done the work previously in your life.
And the brand
That's
stuff.
the brand stuff, and from building trust from yourself. So that's where I would always suggest that, not, as a general rule of thumb, where to start.
Yeah, it's a good point. So yes, I think I've completely changed my mind from the beginning of the episode. It's not an either or, because they're just two sides of the same coin, right? So it's just about understanding which way the dial's going in terms of percentage, energy, but what they achieve, because they do achieve completely different things.
Yeah.
And what do you want?
Yeah, but I think what the conversation we're having is quite important to just understand, what does it mean? Like, what does branding mean? I think there's a misconception, like you said, like branding means, well, you have to put your brand across large publications or on the motorway on a big billboard. Actually, they don't have billboards on the motorway. On like a
Well, not in
city,
the UK, but in
not
other
in the UK.
places they have billboards on the
Okay, yes,
motorway. South Africa definitely has billboards on the
yeah.
motorway.
It can
But even
be,
there's a big thing here of sports sponsorship. So putting up your billboard on stadiums and things like that, right? That's brand awareness. Because if you think for 1 second that someone's going to be watching their kid play soccer or whatever, football, is that the right word? And then see your logo going, oh yeah, I really want to buy that thing, and then pick up their phone and start dialing, it's not going to happen. Like,
yeah,
it's not going to happen.
it's not going to happen. That is pure.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah, and but that's just pure brand, like it's pure brand awareness, and it's just trying to plant a seed for later on down the line. Unless,
And that's what brand awareness does, right? It's so that when the need arises for product X, you're away from that scenario. Let's use that football scenario. Your kid was playing, so you kept seeing brand X all the time because it was on the billboard behind him. Weeks later, you're sitting at your desk, completely different scenario, and suddenly the need for product X arises. Your brain will remember, right? Your brain will trigger, oh yeah, I saw that brand X. Let me give them a try. So that's the purpose of brand, is to create that constant messaging so that you come up as a memory when the time arises.
And it's about being in the right place, right? So where your audience are, but also your audience are there for a positive reason, if that makes sense. So are they there because they love that? Let's say the football one, for example, and they're a huge football fan. They trust what's going on at their football club. They love their football club. You know, it's part of their heart and their life. And so if you have your brand across the football player's t-shirt, when they next see it, they will associate it with something really positive. They've already got that positive affirmation link that they have with their football club. But if you have it in an area maybe that they don't have a positive association, but they are there, maybe that's not a great place to go.
True. So let's take that further. So we've got the billboard, and we've got the logo on the football shirt, whatever we've got. How do we measure the return on investment of that? Because this is the difficulty with brand, right? Is that's going to cost easily, let's say, $3,000, right? That's for a year of putting our logo out there. That's $3,000.
But I think that must be a local.
Yes, just a local small one. I'm not talking big ones, just the local small ones. We try to help the small business, right? Because we don't all have the big funds to go and get onto Man United or something. So
wow, team.
I mentioned one. Woo-hoo. I was looking at your face to see if I got the right one. I didn't get the sport wrong, but we're still in football, so we're okay, right?
Yeah, you did very well. Very impressed.
Oh, good. So now the difficulty is you spending your 3,000. Your choices are spending that 3,000 to put that logo there for a year, or spending that 3,000 on more active lead gen activities. This is your choices with that spend, right? And so how do you know whether that was well spent?
Well, I mean, you always have to have a baseline. So, okay, I've been in business for 6 months or a year, and I know for a fact that my monthly cycle of new customers, or at least leads coming to the business, potential customers, is X. I'm getting 50 calls every month on average. Okay, that's my baseline. After sponsoring this team for another 6 months, do I still get 60? Do I get 70? Has it gone down? Then I think that is okay. But then it becomes the other problem. What other activities are you doing that could be affecting that? I mean, that baseline, that comparison only works if there's nothing else that's muddying the waters of what could potentially doing that. So you can only do that on a test. So that would have to be the A/B test, but that also then that limits you really can't do anything for the next 6 months to a year if you actually really want to know the impact of that business, if you haven't created specific call to actions, but then we're then kind of stepping into a lead gen kind of world a little bit more there.
And that's what we're speaking about. It's about moving that dial. So if measuring that ROI is that critical, if it's that important, if you need to know by the end of the year whether you want to do it again, because are you doing it again? How do you know, right? And then you do need to move the dial a little bit into lead gen, which is things like asking people, where did you hear about us? And then if someone says, oh, I saw your logo up at my son's football club, yay, that's a win. So then you have to be able to track that and say, but you have to ask it. And yes, sometimes they're not going to get it right, but at least you're going to get an indication. If no one mentions it ever, maybe not so good. The other one is then, active. So adding to that sponsorship is, do you actively go to those games? Do you hand out your business card? Do you go to all the events afterwards? Do you sit in the pub and introduce yourself to people? Do you, what's the active part you're playing to capitalize on that? It's not just a case of sticking it out there and then sitting back and hoping.
But it becomes difficult to measure if you're doing those other activities.
No, but it's all about putting it together in a campaign is what I'm saying. That's why it has to be the dial we spoke about. It's not either or. If you want to measure it, if you want to know, do I continue or not continue at the end of the year, you have to move the dial a little bit into lead gen. You have to do some of the proactive stuff to complement sticking up that billboard, or else you can't.
Yeah, unless, like I said, you don't do anything else and you just have a fixed baseline, but then you are severely limiting yourself.
And we know anything could happen, right? They could lose early in the season and then have no more games, and then you have no exposure. I don't know if that's a thing.
No, I mean now you're just exposing your lack of.
Oh, good. Knowledge. I'm asking the question.
But no, you're right. I mean, they could just be performing really, really badly and losing every single game, and your potential audience went from 1,000 spectators to 100 spectators by the end of the season, and your investment.
Only the parents.
Yeah, exactly, and your monetary investment, it's not been reduced because of the fewer participants of the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's external influences that you cannot control.
Right. I think we need a guest who is like an expert on this brand stuff. Alex, feels like we need to grab a guest to come and help us solve this conundrum and get a different viewpoint. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. We'll start fishing for one.
Awesome. Well, final takeaways for anyone, if anyone is still listening.
Yeah, you need to assess your priorities. You need to understand what is essential for you right now. Like, I just pick up on the point that you made right at the beginning. If you're in desperate needs of sales right now, probably full-blown brand marketing is not exactly where you want to go. You need to be looking at providing instant value to your customers and showing that your product is of good quality and that you have trust and that you build the right journey that makes it very, very easy for them to contact you. Don't make them think. Make it very easy for them to be able to click a button and be in contact with you, or pick up the phone and be in contact with you, or however your business is set up to be contacted. I think you need to evaluate that situation and be honest about it, and don't necessarily listen to somebody who's trying to sell you something.
Yeah, I'm probably like the weirdest marketer, because I'm like, don't spend unless you're going to get what you want, right? Just the bells and whistles can come later when you're rolling in cash and you can do that stuff. Just do what you need to do to keep your business going, and then you can dream and put in all the pretty stuff, right?
Yeah. And
for me, brand awareness falls a little bit under the pretty stuff, but it's about that dial now that I've reassessed. There's always brand awareness. It's just the level of brand awareness versus the level of direct response. That's what it is. It's direct response versus brand, right?
Yeah.
And that's and where do you need to play?
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
Cool.
Well, thanks for another great chat, Alex. And let's go and find a brand expert to help us, but we will chat again soon.
Excellent. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That wraps up this episode of Giraffes Don't Eat Steak. Thanks for joining us. I hope you found value in our discussion and got some new ideas to apply to your own business. Tune in next week for another round of marketing insights and inspiration. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate you listening. Catch you next time on Giraffes Don't Eat Steak.